Hey folks, we're back for part 3 of our first project with Cinema 4D, learning the introduction, and today we're going to finish up with a tutorial about rendering and also using the content browser, which we'll talk about in a minute, and sort of just adding some finishing touches to this model. What you're going to do for this project is you are going to follow it through just like this, and then you're going to export out a JPEG image that you can upload for the assignment. Part 2 of this is going to be, I want you to do something to alter it, to change it, to make it your own somehow. And we're going to have a bit of a before and after. Your before scene will look pretty much the same as the rest of the class. Your after scene will be completely of your own. So we'll talk about that a little bit at the end. And for now, I'm going to talk about some finishing touches and some rendering. Okay, so what we're going to do here is make some adjustments, quick adjustments. First of all, when we go to the physical sky, we can make adjustments so that we can change the lighting, right? And there's a few different things we can do with the lighting. So time and location is the first thing that we can do. So right now we have August 21st, right? And we could change the time, we can change the date, we can change a whole bunch of things. So for example, if I made this, I'm a little bit stretched out here. There we go. If we made this, 17 o'clock, which is, actually 5 o'clock in the evening, then it's going to be a much different sense of lighting, right? If we get later in the day, this could be more like sunset, of course, as we render this out. So we can choose the time of day and make those adjustments for it, right? So we can also choose, there's going to be a difference between, let's say, 5 o'clock, or in this case, 20 would be, what, 8 o'clock? The difference between 8 o'clock in August versus 8 o'clock in December, right? December, it's going to be totally nighttime. And if we render that out, you're going to get this very dark scene with some stars in the sky, etc. Okay, so changing the date, changing the time, those sort of things can give you much different qualities of lighting. I wanted to also add that at any time you can click on the physical sky and you can click on the rotate tool. You can actually, if you click on the sphere here and grab the green bar, which is the Y, you can rotate along the Y. Right? I wouldn't try to rotate along any other axes because it will mess up your plane. But you can see I can change the direction of the sky object, right? So I'm rotating it around to get the light to come from different angles, right? So that's a possibility as well. And then with the physical sky, you can also add some custom things as well. So if we go to basic, right? There's both sky presets and there's weather presets. So you can mess around with those as well. So sky presets, all of these different things, right? And so we could do something a little bit more, maybe cloudy like this one. Bring that in and you notice it's going to be a different cast, a little bit different. The sky is a bit more cloudy. The shadows are a little bit more blue. So there's different elements that you can do there. So you can choose those different sky presets, right? And that can really help out. If I undo that, right, go back to normal, we can also load weather presets, which are a little bit different. So like something that's a bit more cloudy and hazy, for example, is going to have a much different cast as well. So this is going to give you a much different look and feel, a bit more moody, a bit more cloudy, and I kind of rather like that one actually, in terms of making it look like a bit more winter. So both sky presets and weather presets can give you different variables. And then of course you can change the time, you can rotate things around, you can do different things there. All right, the other thing I wanted to talk about with this is, before we get to rendering, would be maybe just adding a few more scene elements in here. So certainly you can add more landscape material, you could add more landscapes, you could add other things. What I'm going to do with this is go to my content browser where there's a bunch of prefab models that you can grab from. So first of all, when you load Cinema onto your computer at home or your own personal computer, you'll want to update your content browser. And so the way that you do that is you go to the help button here and do check for updates. I've recently updated, so you probably won't see this, but if you do the online updater, then it will check for any updates that you may have, and you should have the content libraries. If you're downloading for the first time, it's probably going to be right on top, and it will say content library this, content library that. There's probably going to be maybe 6 different ones, right? Download all of them so that you get them into your system. They'll download, they'll ask you to restart, you'll restart it, and it'll be loaded up. The only thing I have left here are these language packs. Let's see, I have oh, here it is. So the history shows. So I've downloaded the content library, materials, objects, volume 1 and 2, presets, scenes 1 and 2, and those have tons of content that you can use. You know, we are going to be learning how to model our own objects, but in this case, I think it's great to just buffer out the scene a little bit more. So we'll use our content browser for that. So content browser is over here on the side. Click this little button here. I've already got a bunch of trees and stuff that are up. But you can search. So if we double click on, if you just click on presets, you'll get these different menus. So body paint, you have all of these different things that you can utilize. There's also the presets here. If you click on here, this is the main preset menu. There we go. So presets, we have 3D objects, materials, different things that you can open up. So for example, if I wanted to grab on some 3D objects, so let's see what's in here. Actually, let's go back. Let's do here, 3D objects, plants, right? So plants, we've got garden cutouts. Let's check out these European ones. You can search on here. You can also just search for tree if you want to, something like that, and you can navigate through. Here's one that already has snow on it, so that'll be appropriate for our scene. You just double click it, it will enter into your scene. So here it is inside the snowman, because remember things come in at the 000. So once you're gonna move out of the content browser, then you just simply click above here that says tasks and says objects. Click on objects, you can grab the tree, you can move it around your scene. Sometimes I find it helpful to look at multiple viewports at once. So to do that, there's this little button right here next to the navigation tools in your viewport. If you click on that, you can get all 3 views at once. So this is great because now I can take this and move it right along the aerial view. So I can move that, let's say like over here, for example, and maybe I want to copy and paste another one. Maybe I'll move it over on this side, bring it a bit more forward, you know, just sort of get a bit of variety in here. I think for this one, I'll actually enlarge it quite a bit too. So it goes out of the plane, bring it back a little bit. There we go, we'll get our move tool. All right, that looks pretty good. And click on this tree again, copy and paste that one, and move one a little bit further back and down a little bit here into the scene. Odd numbers are good, right? They help with balance. Okay, so I've got the trees set up. Let's render this out, see what it looks like. I think it's looking pretty good, actually. Got this moody scene. I've got this sad snow figure. Got some trees in the background, some moody sky. I think it's looking pretty good. Oh, I seem to lose my, you know what happened? I only copied the snow when I grabbed that. I didn't copy the whole tree. So copy and paste, and now I get the whole tree. And let's move that over here. Let's see. There we go. Okay, there. So that rendered up pretty well. So now I want to render this so that it actually is a JPEG image, so I can upload it and share it with someone. It's not just in the screen. So for this, what I want to do is click here. This little button with the cog is Edit Render Settings button. Click on this, and here we can choose our output. So we can click on the presets. For this, what I'd like you to do is go to Film and Video, and let's just do HDV TV 1080. Yeah, 1920 by 1080. That's a great size. It's kind of common for when you're working with video. So let's get used to using that format. And here we have 72 pixels. Everything is good. Everything is good there. We're going to render out the current frame, which is good. And then when we go to save here, the next button down, then we can choose a path. So choose a path. I am going to go to my classes and 3D animation 2020. We'll call this sad snow. Right, there's that. And then format is automatically TIFF. I would like to change that to a JPEG. So it's a little more compressed, and everything else is good. So once you have this set up, again, output, change it to 1920 by 1080. Make sure it's on current frame, not all frames, and then save, choose a path, JPEG, good to go. I'm gonna click that out. And then to render this, to actually make it into a JPEG image, we're gonna go here, the button in the middle called Render to the Picture Viewer. Click on this, and it will slowly generate your JPEG once all of these cycle through. And you know, this is called ray tracing. So it's sort of like projecting out the image across the plane and making it into a file format we can use. Once it's finished, it automatically saves, so you can save it. You can also, when you're working, you can also render to the picture viewer. And if you do that and you do want to save it, you can always go up to File and Save Image As. That's another way to do it too. But just note, if you've got it set up in the render settings with a path, right, it will automatically save, okay? So just to clarify, go to Finder and Documents, Classes, 3D Animation, here's Snowpat. There we go, got a nice big JPEG. So that's what you'll upload for me, right? Your finished snow figure scene, okay? And then we're gonna add more stuff to it for the after. We want a before and after of your sad figure. It doesn't have to be sad, your snow figure. Okay, so I've got my setting. Now, one thing here I wanna point out, which is crucial, I do want there to be, you know, I want you to have the camera in pretty much the same place, okay? And that's just because it'll look interesting if we see the figure the same. You might be able to change things around, but if we have essentially the same vantage point for the before and after, I think it will be really effective. So to do that, what we are going to do is add a camera, right? Even though we have this thing up here called default camera, right? I'm going to bring in another camera and we're going to lock it in place. And that way I'll show you how to work back and forth between the default camera and any cameras that you bring in. So here is our camera menu. I'm just going to use a standard old camera. Okay, so bring that in. All right, and you're not really going to see much, but when you go to the multiple views, here you can see the camera, right? If you want to just look at the above view, you click on that box again in the viewport you want, and then you'll get the whole view. So here's the camera. Here's the range of view, right? And it kind of gives us a sense of where its position is. It also gives you the position of the camera, which is cool, and the rotation. So we go back out of here, and I'm gonna add just a little bit of a tag to this camera so it doesn't move. Okay, so when I'm in the camera, I'm gonna go to tags and camera tags. Oh boy, they changed the they changed the tags in this version. Oh no, modeling tags. Other tags. Maybe I can search for tag. Let's see. I was looking for protection. Goodness. This is what happens when you do a tutorial and they change the format for you. So what we're looking for is a tag called protection. Other tags. Nope. Nope. Positing, rigging. Here it is, protection. So it's under rigging tags. Anyway, what this does is it makes it so that you cannot move the camera. Why is that important? Well, if I was to try to rotate this around, well, I'm not in the camera view right now. Okay, if I click on this little button right here, camera object, click on this, when that is all lit up with white and a little dot in the middle, then you're looking through the camera, right? So now I cannot rotate this, I cannot zoom, I cannot pan. It was locked, right? Now, if I wanted to work on my scene and move around, I would just simply click this button here, camera object, off, And now I can rotate around because I'm not looking through that camera anymore. There's a camera down there, and I'm moving throughout the scene. And then it, like, if I'm here and I want to look back through the camera, I click this button, it automatically goes back. Okay, so that's what I want you to do for this project. Once you get your scene set up, once you make that JPEG, and you can even do it before you make that JPEG, add a camera, go to tags, we'll search for it again. It's under rigging tags, and it's called protection, just organized a little bit different way. And that would just make it so that camera can't move. And just remember that if you're looking through the camera, make sure that little button is checked, so the little dot is there. If you're outside the camera, you want to navigate around, the camera is still there and it's protected. You can use it at any time. So what I want you to think about, though, is that when I hit the render button, I would be rendering the default camera. When I click this button and I render, now I'm rendering through that camera. It says camera. We can actually label it, so that will help too. Let's call it first view. Okay, so that's the first view, right? And then if I click out of it, default camera shows up there. Okay, that was a lot of language for something pretty simple, but I think it's clear. That will help you make sure that you get your scene set up the same twice. Okay, so now what can we do to make this different? There's all kinds of things. I want you to use your imagination and go wild, okay? Definitely primitive menu allows you to build new things if you want to build new things, okay? Content browser has tons of stuff, okay? So if you wanted to have a fire, I'll just type in fire hydrant, right? Why not? We should have a fire hydrant in here. So I'll put it in here, add it to my scene, and make it, really big. And now I've added something different to the after scene, okay? Got the fire hydrant, might want to add other things, might want to change the sky. There's a bunch of things you can do to this. Go back to objects here. That would make it much more dynamic. So let's just load a different preset and a crazy one. And then already, this scene is going to be markedly different than the other one that we created. And but the goal here is creativity. I'm looking for creativity. I want you to do something really, fun and different, silly for the after scene. And think about maybe a narrative, like what sort of ideas can you bring to this to make it really interesting. Once you have finished your after scene, okay, then you should definitely save it, render it out as a JPEG the same way we did with the other one, and then upload both of those to complete the assignment. There's going to be questions, and I'm going to be available for those via Zoom, via in class, email, other ways. But just note that what I'm looking for this project is a before and after snow figure. Oh, look at the moon in the background. That's pretty cool. Okay, so here we go. We went from a nice, cool, crisp day to something more heated and surreal. Well, that is about all for the that is about all that we have for this part of the project. If there are questions, please let me know. Oh, one more thing, finally. If you want to render this out, which we'll do that quickly, just simply go here again, change the name of this. We'll just call it snowpat _ after. All right, once you've named it a different path, right, then you can render to the picture viewer again, and you'll get that before and after scene set up. So last but not least, feel free to ask any questions that you may have. Again, what we want to do for this is use our primitive tools, models to make some sort of scene, particularly some sort of snow figure scene, and then render it out as the before, alter it using the content browser, using other things that you may want to play around with, build your own models, etc. Consider narrative. You'll be graded on creativity, and then render out that second image so we can see the before and after. In the picture viewer, it's also going to save that other one that you worked on so we can navigate between them for after. Even while it's rendering, you can click between them to see how it goes. You'll notice that rendering can take a while, right? So think about how you would render out, 900 frames for a 3-minute video, for example, could take an awful long time. There's ways to speed things up that we'll talk about for sure. But this is the rendering process. So as we close out, I'm looking for a before and an after scene following through this tutorial so you get a hand of how to use the materials and the building and moving and scaling, and then something, you know, markedly different at the after scene. All right, that's all for now. Take care. I look forward to seeing you via